Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio. We're very excited today. We get to welcome Shetal Shah. She is a former educator. She worked in a girls' school, which is exciting. And I went to a girls' school, so I know that's not the easiest thing, but she is the author of Shakti Girls. It's an incredibly beautiful book that illustrates 13 stories of powerful Indian women and really kind of shows the diversity of India, also what women can do. I love her book, and it's all about, these stories are all in poetry. April is Poetry Month, and it's also spring. So we're thinking about renewal, rejuvenation, and rebirth. So I think this book is a perfect time to come out and let girls know they can be who they want to be. So I encourage you to go to Shetal's website. It's shetal-shah.com. I'm going to spell that out. It's S-H-E, she's she woman, she, and then T-A-L-S-H-A-H. So welcome to the show, Shetal. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I love how you just pointed out the she in my name. How is it like I'm realizing that now? It is perfect.
Yeah, she's the she woman. She's like she. Yeah, you stand proud for it, right? I have to tell you, I grew up in Kenya and South Africa and England, and American born, but lived everywhere and came back here. And that's why I can never pronounce anything, because I just go into different languages all the time in my head. But, grew up with Indian girls and, some Hindu, some Muslim. And I think they're, coming back to the States and also even in England, I feel like there's a disconnect sometimes in the Western world about the strength of Indian women and also understanding the culture of India and Indian women. I think that there's this kind of look at that girls are always kind of put down in Indian cultures and looked upon as submissive almost. And so this is what I think is so important about your book, especially for girls that are living in the West, to understand where they are and what they can do, what they can achieve through true stories of women. And I think poetry is a perfect way because it gets under your skin. Rhyme is always good, like songs and storytelling going together. So I wanted to touch on this because I really wanted people to, I want people to understand from the Anglo side that women who are of Indian descent are powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, when I grew up in the United States, born and raised in New York, through the 80s and 90s. And, I rarely saw, women and girls with my background and heritage. My parents immigrated from India in the 1970s. So I rarely saw women that I could relate to out in mainstream America. And coming from, Indian traditionally is a very patriarchal society. And so for me to find role models of Indian women that are, strong, pursuing their passion, and breaking stereotypes of Indian women was really hard for me to find. And it took me, a number of years to really figure out, okay, where are the role models? Where can I find them? And it required concerted effort to really figure out who these women are, but they exist. And they're out there. And, from history, from, ancient kingdoms to present day, there are groundbreaking women from this region of the world doing, making considerable difference in the world by following their passion. And so at first, as a child, not seeing the representation I was yearning for, and then later becoming a teacher, and working in schools where I had the flexibility to bring in inclusion into my curriculum, but yet still like really having to dig for resources as an educator to bring to my students, because I worked in girls' schools, so to bring to my students, resources of women, making history, and women of color making history. And then looking for Indian women as well, I wanted to bring myself into the classroom to expose to my students. Oh my gosh, the effort that would take. And then I had, 2 babies of my own, raising the next generation of Indian Americans. I'm like, where, and realizing there's still such a gap in children's literature when it comes to racial and cultural diversity, and I said, I got to a point, it was 2022, 2021, and, I'm ready to kind of be part of that solution and do something about it.
Yeah, and I think this is especially obviously, important for young Indian girls, but I was saying, for the other side, the other cultures to understand as well. And it's so beautiful. I mean, the illustrations, the poetry, you did an incredible job, because I think I love that you chose poetry as the form of storytelling, because I think it slows us down. And because of the rhythm, you can't just pass over the words. And then you have to find the rhythm. You have to find the beat in the song. I'm a songwriter, so I'm all into poetry and this form of storytelling, because it does. When I said at the beginning, it does get under your skin, and it can almost become like a mantra in a way to move forward. And I think that's something very important. And we have so many, folks, Indian folks in this country, and girls being raised in this country, and girls coming here now. I mean, I've done a number of interviews actually with young Indian girls who may only just be arriving and trying to go to college and trying to get through the drama of what this country is as well. It's not easy. It's not easy being an immigrant. I mean, I've been an immigrant in my own country. It's easy. I've been an immigrant in other countries. I was like what are you doing? You're white. Seriously, I've been on the other side. And so I think it's just these kind of books it's a tool for girls. It's a tool for families and educators. And I'd like to see, friends get together with this book. So if you have, say, an Indian girl and a girl a white girl from Kentucky, let's say, get together and go through this, because it's also stories of women. And I think it's really important. I laughed about you being an educator in girls' schools, because I did go to a girls' school when I was in South Africa for about a year. And I went to a lot of schools because we traveled a lot. And it was a boarding school. And man, we can get kind of like snarky with each other as girls, instead of supporting each other. And I think with what you've done with the book, it gives girls of all, racial descent and culture to unite on this. We need to work together as being strong women, and work together to help each other to achieve our goals and our strengths, and also to obviously understand each other's cultures. You've done a lot in this book. You've done a lot. I'm just saying.
I mean, and that just goes to show how rich the stories of the women in the book are. I mean, I could have gone on and on with the research that I did about these women from, Kasturba Gandhi. She was the wife of Mahatma Gandhi. I wrote about her in the book, and she was one of the freedom fighters for India during the independence movement. And so few women and girls know, or people in general, right, in the Western world, know about who she was and how critical she was to that movement. Many of us know about who Gandhi is, her husband, but it was really like he got inspiration from his wife to that shaped his philosophy on how to, design the independence movement. And so she had such a critical stake in what happened, yet, I consider her like an unsung hero that we need to start singing about, and, you talk about coming together and having solidarity. I firmly believe that, like, if we want to break through as women as a whole, we have to uplift all of each other. We have to uplift Black women, Hispanic women, Asian women, white, like all of us collectively have to come together and seek inspiration from the stories from all of our backgrounds, and tell those stories.
I love this because also, you bring in Kamala Harris. Here she is, our vice president, and regardless of everyone's political belief, she got there. She did, and she's, and she's of mixed race, which I think is very important that we discuss that too in this culture and world now today. This is what's happening. And so there's an inclusivity in your book also because you bring in Hindi words. And I think that's also, you bring in English and teaching terms, Hindi and English, and also have activities. I love your website, by the way, because you have activities on there too, and tell your story. Well, I think activities get you involved. I don't think you can just sit and read. And you're a teacher. We have to, don't you, I know we have computers now, but don't we still have to put pencil to paper to get things in our brains?
Yes, you're reading my mind. That I would tell my students that all the time. They would want, many of them want to take out their iPads and computers to take notes. And I would intentionally have to tell them at times, let's put the devices away and let's handwrite, because there is more there's more stuff going on in your brain when you're actually in the process of writing with the pencil. And, there's the brain science to back it up. And so there is sort of more engagement that goes on when you put pencil to paper. And yes, the activities in the book, the Hindi words and the poetry, all of that was inspired by my background in education, and the tricks and tools that I used in the classroom kind of came through in the design of the book as well. Knowing that when you are writing in rhyme, not only is it more engaging to readers, but it also helps with their memory and helps them remember what it is that they're reading about. You mentioned, some of parts of the book becoming mantras. When it's in rhyme, then that really helps that mantra stick. And it was my youngest son who inspired me to write in rhyme. I think I was reading a biography to him. I have two boys, and I read Rebel Girls and Little Dreamers and all these books that inspired me. I read to them, right? I feel like that is my responsibility. Raising two boys is exposing them to the stories of these brilliant, amazing women, so that they do their part as well in creating a more gender equal world. It is a huge responsibility to me as a mom to two boys. So I was reading a biography to my son, my youngest son. He was 6 or 7 at the time. And after reading a few lines, he would get kind of, antsy and bored. And I asked him, what's going on? I'm like, this is such a fascinating story. And he's like, Mom, it just kind of reads like a textbook a little bit. Is there a way we can just, read it so that it's more interesting? So sometimes I would sing it to him and find other ways to kind of make the text more interesting so he would stay more engaged. And so, fast forward a year later, I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, how can I make the writing more engaging to younger readers? And so then I thought about rhyme, and that's how that came to be.
But, I love it because, like we were saying, it has a flow and a beat to it. And I think kids, especially now, listening to rap music and et cetera, rap is poetry, right? And it's a therapeutic quality that I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's true. But what you've done is mnemonics, I believe is the term, right? With using this as a way to kind of get into the skin again. I'm using that. It just,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it moves. And even, as an adult reader, I'm going, oh, this is cool. This is slowing me down. I kind of know these stories of some of the women. There's an astronaut, there's a wrestler. I mean, come on. It's pretty cool. So I think it's cool for parents to get involved with your book too. What is the age group that should be looking at reading your book, and for parents too?
Well, I think if it's a parent reading to their child, I definitely think they could engage, a 4-year-old and older. For a child to be reading independently, I can definitely say like a 5 to 8 is a good age that would enjoy the book. I definitely know plenty of older children that are enjoying the book as well, and bringing it to school for Women's History Month and National Poetry Month, and kind of moving through the book like one page, like one story or 2 stories at a time.
What do you think about rebirth being part of this book? Because of, we think of spring, of getting rid of negativity and moving, there's, I know this more Buddhist of like taking something negative out, or we travel full time in a car. So like you cannot put more stuff in the car without taking something out. And that's kind of the way life is, right? So like, it's the same thing. It's like, if you have something negative in your life, remove it and put something positive, and maybe change those thought patterns. And that's what I see in your book, is changing the thought pattern and realizing that what could be really could be as women and young girls, especially getting towards college age, right? Get rid of those negative doubts, no matter, even if your parents are negative, move forward. Sorry, it's true, but some people do have negative parents,
Yeah. No, I love that notion of rebirth, that theme that is present in the book, and how, even when you just need a nugget of inspiration to help shift your mindset, or the direction in which your day has taken you, and you need to shift it towards more a positivity. I think the stories are just as long or just as short to give you that nugget of inspiration, to get you going in that different direction, right? To give you that jolt of inspiration to get you through your day or your week. And so even for me as an adult, like, if I'm having a moment, just taking a minute to read one of the poems can really be uplifting, and kind of, you mentioned, you talked about rebirth, and rebirth of a new day, rebirth of, a new thought pattern to get you through some tough times. I can definitely see how the book could serve in that way, and also the themes kind of carry through in the stories of these women, and how they've their lives were shaped and also reshaped by persistence, and following their passion, and kind of getting through challenging times.
I love that you say that about, just could be your day, because I think when we think about rebirth and everything, it's like this big shift in life. Now we have to, that becomes a big ordeal. Like, oh my gosh, especially as a teenager, right? A teenager, you're trying to balance everything in school, think about college. And it, like I said, it's also scary going to school now. There's so much going on. There's so much pressure on youth now. And for the parents on top of that I think you can't always think in these huge long-term things. It's just got to be now. And when kids are dealing with things, to have that strength, I don't need to go into shootings, but it's a real thing in this country. And how do you have the strength to go to school and not be fearful? You should be fearful. That's part of our survival instinct, right? But and we've seen, I think, the last 20 years of youth stand up in ways. I'm so tired of people trash millennials. It makes me mad. It really does. Because you think about, our youth over the last 20, 30 years, they've become very vocal. You talk about Gandhi, but they've also done it in peaceful ways. And used their brains They are learning stuff. We have so many more tools than we had when, you went to school and I went to school,
Mhm.
So I think like your book is going to be something that someone can go to at any time. They may already know the poem by heart. But it's a way to quickly get into that story, to quickly remember, have a rhythm, have a beat. Yeah, I can still do this no matter how stressful it is. But I really I don't want people to underestimate the stresses that kids are going through now. It's
Yeah.
real rough, you know?
It really is. The issues that millennials, this next generation, are facing, they're real, they're valid. And I completely agree with what you said about the power that also exists within the millennials and what they've demonstrated. I mean, it was such a joy and privilege to have taught that generation for 15 years.
Wow.
I learned something new from them every day. And it was, really eye-opening to me when I realized as a teacher that I don't need to bury them with content because they have content at their fingertips. Where their power is going to lie, and they're already showing this, is what they're going to do with the content, how they're going to apply it and start solving some real world issues. And they're already doing that. We have so many young activists. I mean, Greta Thunberg, that many know about, but then so many more, that we haven't heard of that are coming through and really making a voice and or sharing their voice. And I think we're just going to see more of that, and it's really inspiring to see. And then with the poems, as I was doing the research for each woman, I noticed that every woman had a story or a message that I felt all readers could relate to. And that was sort of the purpose in every stanza. At the end of every poem, there's a stanza directed to the reader. To help them connect that, hey, I'm reading about Kasturba Gandhi. She used her voice to speak her truth. How can I do the same thing? And really connect this woman on,
to take action
on a deeper. Yeah.
I love that. I love that you have action in there, because otherwise it's just, oh, I'm reading through. That's really pretty. Lovely. The illustrations are amazing. It's got to have that extra part. We do so many shows on political issues and, I should say environmental and social issues. And of course, politics gets in the way of all of it. So that's what I mean about political issues. But if we can talk about all the issues, but if there's no key to take action, it really means nothing. You're just beating your head against the wall. That's why we travel full time to document parks, so people can see this is why we need land. Kids need land. They need to be able to play somewhere clean and have fresh air, just like our birds and animals need it. So do we as humans. And so I love that you have that action piece. I know that our listeners right now are going, why don't we know what Shakti means? Can you tell everybody that? Because we're talking about everything but the actual title of the book, and you talk about it in the very beginning, but we want to hear from you. Tell us what Shakti means. And I love that. I love that word. And that's the thing too, the words. I think there's a beauty in words and learning them, learning how to pronounce them correctly, which I'm always weird about. But it is a beauty of just the nourishment that words can bring us. And I think Shakti is just one of those delicious words.
Yeah, it needs to be in everyone's vocabulary. So Shakti is, in Hindi, it means power, the power that's within you. It is like the energy and force that lives within you. And in Hinduism, it is believed to be this creative energy that often is manifested through female goddesses like Goddess Durga. And so it's so yeah, so I, so in a sense, it means, your inner power, your inner strength, and it can come through through your intellectual power, your brain power. It can manifest through your talents, whether it's juggling or the arts, or the sciences, or it can come through your loving nature and compassion towards others and yourself. So there's like a lot of different ways in which it can appear, but knowing that it is a power that lives within everyone. It is an unbiased power. Everyone has it, and it's up to us to realize that we have it within us. And when we do realize that we all have Shakti, then, and in saying that, I have Shakti, right? And I've taught some students to say, Mere paas Shakti hai, I have Shakti. It feels, you feel more confident saying that to help you get through any sort of difficult situation you're facing.
If someone's rude, to you. Yeah, if someone's rude to you, just go, I've got the Shakti, man. Just leave me alone. I got it. I'll just look at you and go, see these eyes? That's my Shakti looking at you.
Yeah, that's right.
I rise above. I love it because I think, it's kind of like a superpower that you can hold on to, but we all have it. Like you're saying, I love that, through Ayurveda, I learned about prana. So that's more like a breath, right? So if you've got Shakti, that's your life force through breathing, right? More than like Shakti is like this other, it's like put those two together and off you go, man. Because you gotta have because I was just thinking about when you're talking about life force, I always looked at prana as life force, but that's because it's breathing. But and I don't know if I'm saying any of it correctly, so excuse me if I'm wrong. I really don't mean to be, but because you study things, and that's the thing too. I wonder about the poetry, getting girls to speak it out loud versus internalizing, to actually get it under the skin.
I love reading them out loud. It does have I feel like a stronger impact, that I feel like it kind of gets into my insides when I hear the words that I'm reading, right? It almost becomes like a multi-sensory experience. But I wanted to go back to what you said about prana and Shakti. I thought that was so powerful. And the way you described prana, I mean, it kind of made sense that prana is the fuel for your Shakti. It is the breath that breathes, that breathes into the fire of Shakti. I mean, it kind of works together.
The fire. Okay, so you got it. Ooh. Okay, I like this because like I go music, right? So, are you going to do or do you have a music playlist to go with this? Like I would like to see. Because I was looking at this, you've got 13 poems, 13 women, right? Which is like the perfect number for an album. So I wanted to know about the number 13, because some cultures are like, we don't want to know about the 3s and the 13, but you went there. And I'm like, ooh, that's cool. Because that's like a luck symbol depending on what you believe, right? So let's talk. Yeah. And luck is not just comes out of thin air. It's about, opportunity meets with something you've created and built. So Shakti and opportunity meet, right? And destiny, comes together. But if you didn't do any of your work in the Shakti, you ain't going to get that, over there. Destiny will just give you whatever happens, fate, right? But I know I'm getting weird now. But anyway, so the musical side, to me, it's like, we need like an album to go with this. I'm just saying, do you have a music? But tell me, because like, what's happening on the music front? Because you got to, right? Or are you going to?
I want to. It's been on my to-do list forever. I've been wanting to create a playlist of songs, and each song like representing each woman. So hence that would be the 13. I just haven't gotten to it. But if you have suggestions, it sounds like you're more musical than I am. If you have suggestions, I'd be happy to take them. But it is definitely something that I've thought about. I love listening to music while I'm writing. I do have sort of a women empowerment station on Spotify that I listen to. And so I'm definitely interested in putting something together for my readers and followers. Just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Okay. Well, this song is not Indian, but
That's okay.
it is from our friend Shelley King, who is the first woman elected as a state musician of the state of Texas, even though she was born in Arkansas. Her name is Shelley King. And her whole album is called Building a Fire, one of her albums. And that's how we first met her. It was when this album came out, and she's been on our show for years. Building a Fire is a song. It's an amazing video, and it's just amazing. She is the epitome of girl power. And she plays with like Amy Helm, which is Lee Von Helm's daughter. Lee Von Helm from the band, the drummer. She brings women together on stage, right? From Carolyn Wonderland, who is the guitarist for John Mayall, and isn't just anyway, Carolyn Wonderland. Anyway, so all these amazing women get together and perform together, and she kind of spurs that on, and left her typical job to go and say, I am a musician. I know I have a family, but I'm doing this, and I'm going to make it work. And she did. Her husband's a drummer. He's amazing too. But Building a Fire, when we were talking about, when you said fire, like Prana the Fire, and then Shakti. And I'm like, that's Shelley King's song right there, Building a Fire. And it's starting to catch. Yeah. And so I would say that song has to be on that playlist, even though it's not Indian. But now the Indian music, I want to know. I want to hear. I want it. Yeah. I want to hear the Indian music side. So can you give me one song that I can go look up, that I should go listen to on Spotify from the Indian music side? And because again, we got Norah Jones, right? So people can recognize her a little bit, the daughter from Ravi Shankar. So she's not 100% Indian, but partial. But who would you say we should listen to, one Indian woman in music?
Definitely. There's some classics here. Lata Mangeshkar, and her sister that I wrote about, Asha Bhosle. They are two classic, Bollywood Hindi singers. Lata Mangeshkar, she unfortunately passed away recently, but they are, have. Their songs go way back and are just quintessential Bollywood musical playback artists. So I would definitely recommend listening to their songs. Asha Bhosle, she's got the world record in the number of songs recorded, former Grammy nominee. And she, what's so interesting about her is that she'll experiment with different types of songs too. So she's got a range that is unique from what I've seen, from what I've witnessed in Hindi music. What's on also my to-do list is there is a sort of the Indian music scene. I'm starting to see more independent artists breaking through that are not connected to the Bollywood industry. And I just noticed this on my last visit to India in December. It was my first one after 15 years. And I started to notice that there is this, growth in the music industry happening in India. And so I've been needing to kind of venture in and figure out, hey, who are the female identifying artists, in this industry. But I am a fan of Anushka Sharma, Ravi Shankar's daughter, just because some of her music that I've listened to, the instrumentals, are traditional to Indian, but there's like sort of a strength and the power behind her voice that I find really uplifting.
I love this conversation. You've got to come on our Big Daily Blend show. Like, we just play music on Spotify and talk about the music
that'd be
and what's
fun.
happening. Oh, we should totally do it. We should do okay,
Yeah.
I know what to do. Everybody just, stay listening to this. We're going to plan something cool. We're going to plan something super cool because, well, like, I grew up like listening to Indian music and not knowing I can't tell you who, what, and where, but I was a little kid growing up, with this, and especially in Kenya. It's just such a huge Indian population on both sides, Hindu and Muslim. And the music, to me, like, I would hear people go to mosque on the Muslim side early in the morning, and there's just this, and then I love both sides, right? And I love the Hindu culture part of things, and the gods and God, just there's power, and there. And I try to explain it to people that, like, oh, they're, adoring cows and things. I'm like, yeah, cows are cool. But they don't understand, like, the stories behind it. It's kind of like understanding what the spirit of each individual represents, and I try to explain it. And I'm not Hindu, but I want to be, because it's so cool. It's just so good.
Yeah.
And it's just better food too. It's good food for all of us. Like, really, if you're going to eat healthy, look at the Hindu diet. It's pretty good. But just there's the music and the rhythms, and then the singing, to me, is just insanely cool, because, like, especially the women can just go in these notes that are so high. And I want the Americans to understand it. And I know it's a different culture and sound, but if you listen to how they sing in between the drum beats, like, seriously, you're going off of drums more than anything. And I'm going, how and how you build through and weave around those drum beats, insanely cool. Like, honestly, I'm just a huge fan, and I can't tell you who, what, and where, but I can tell you that it's something you should listen to and understand. And there's dancing, of course. I know everybody knows Bollywood, etc. But if you just listen, to me, Indian music is about elevation. It's always about going a step up and higher, maybe spiritually. But, like, when you talk about Shakti Girls, that's what I think about with the music. It's like elevation. I used to perform with a drummer, Willie Kellogg, half Mexican and white. He's passed since, but we used to play Sufi music, and he would, I would sing and he would do percussion, and he would listen. He was like, oh, you've got to hear this. I'm like, yeah, I grew up on this. It's cool. And he was like, it's levitation, man. It's all about levitation. And when I do musician interviews, we talk about this. Music is supposed to take you beyond. It is a spiritual force. I think it goes with Shakti, what you're talking about that levitation, where you can literally leave your body. And I know it sounds weird. I'm not being weird, but it's true. You've got to get out. We talk about meditation and everything, but this is about that, where you don't have those barriers that the human physical body has. Does that make sense?
And you don't need to know what the lyrics are saying.
No.
In a lot, like the Hindi. So I grew up listening to Hindi music, and I don't speak Hindi. I know some words here and there. I know some phrases, but I definitely am not fluent in Hindi. I'm fluent in Gujarati, which is the language of the state my parents grew up in. So I can make out bits and pieces, but I grew up listening to Hindi music, and it was for those reasons that you just described. Like, I would put on my headphones, I would get into the car, we'd go on these long drives, and I would listen to Hindi music the whole ride, because it would just take me to another place. It would take me on an adventure, and spark this, like, I don't know if it was this unsuppressed imagination that somehow music can tap into and unleash. And it's so powerful. And so with Hindi music, it didn't matter if I couldn't understand the lyrics. It still had this transformative, experience that, made it addicting to a certain point. My mom would have to tell me that music. She's like, come back to reality.
Well, because it's drama. When you listen to like Hindi music, right? You've got the drums, but it is opera but Indian opera in a way. They're telling a story, and you can hear she's like, hey, I'm mad at you, and you did this, and now I'm going here, and I'm going higher above. Like, it's always about moving higher above. That's how, I mean, and there's sadness in music too, and you can hear it. You don't, like you said, you don't. I listen to a lot of world music. Again, I really don't know, but I love it, right? It's because it doesn't dictate anything. It's how you connect to it, right? It's more of like a magnet. Like, how do you connect to it? And every time you listen to music, it's going to be something different. Some stuff doesn't feel good. And I've talked to that with spiritual musicians. Like, some music goes, like, I remember somebody gave me an album, a CD that was all these music for chakras. I put it in, and it literally made me angry. Like, I don't want to listen to this. And then it was like, it like went the wrong way to my chakras. So I think about chakra and Shakti. I'm just saying words. It's interesting. But I wonder about that, about like what connects with us in these ways that we don't always know about, spiritually, body, mind, spirit. And, that's again, going to your poetry, is like, this isn't an elevated form of learning that can stick with us and has that rhythm. And rhythm means movement forward, not backwards. Rhythm is always progressing. And I think that's what's so beautiful about your poetry, is it's progressing, it's moving forward. It's that action, going back to the life force that we're talking about, prana and shakti getting together and like, hey, let's go, babies. Let's do it. I love it. I love what you've done. This is so exciting. So please, you've got to email me. You've got to email me the songs you're talking about and the artists, because we'll do something, and we will listen. We're going to do something cool with Shetal on Shetal. See, I want to say Shetal. It's just a terrible.
You got
it. But Shetal will be back on. We're going to do something cool on our Big Daily Blend on Spotify. It's our new music show that we get to play music. As long as people are on Spotify, we can do it with their music, and it's only for Spotify users, though, which kind of sucks, but I can't help it. There's licensing all involved, but we get to have fun and talk about music and play music. So we'll do something special. Everyone, go to Shetal's website. Again, the book is out. Shakti Girls is out now. Shetal is on Twitter at Shetal Writes, and that's Shetal. She's on Instagram under the same name, and Shakti Girls. You can find her there, and go to shetal-shah.com as well. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a true pleasure having you on the show. We got to do more.
Yes, this was so much fun. I really enjoyed our conversation together. And can I also mention that the book's also available on Amazon? Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. Go. Tell everybody where they can get it, and they can like request their bookstores to get it, right? In print, or is it mostly Kindle? Tell us about that part.
Yes. They could definitely get requested at bookstores and at libraries. And you could get paperback or a hardcover on Amazon, or if you want a signed copy, you can get it on my website.
Oh, we like that. Yeah. Thank you so much, Shetal. It's been a pleasure. Everyone take care. And hey, let's, go up. Let's keep our heads high. Let's do that, right? Keep elevating the levitation. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.